So excited to teach you guys how to make these zipper pouches. You guys have been so excited for these, as have I. And so today I'm going to take you step by step on how to make these zipper pouches. So this is what comes in your zipper pouch kit. So you get to choose what fabric you want or what fabric collection you want. This is the Garden Dreamer, and it comes with fabric for the mane and the lining, and you get to choose which one you want for what. It also comes with directions, and this is front and back. It also comes with iron on vinyl, 2 sheets of that, 2 pieces of fusible batting, a tassel keychain, and this beautiful gold zipper. So the first thing you need to do is decide which fabric you want for the mane and which one you want for the lining. I am going to use this floral fabric as like the top main fabric, and this triangle gorgeousness as the lining. Once you have decided what fabric you're going to have for your mane and lining, now is when you are going to iron on your fusible batting to the top, and you're going to iron on the iron-on vinyl to the lining if you want your fabric lining to be water resistant. If you don't care or you don't want it to be water resistant, just skip this step. My top fabric is right side down, and then I have the fusible batting glue side down. So I don't know if you can tell on here, but on the fusible batting, one side has like these dots, and you can feel it. It's kind of rough feeling, and that's the glue. And so you're just gonna get your iron nice and hot. I actually find it easiest to spray it with some water, and so it's damp. You could also just use the steam setting on your iron, but just make sure your iron is super hot, and then you are just going to iron this until all of the glue has melted, and this is basically joined together and it's glued on. The fusible batting is now fused on to the fabric, and so and if you can tell, the fusible batting's a little bit smaller than the actual fabric, and that is to help reduce the bulk in your seams, and so you'll just want to try to center it up as much as you can. So now I'm just going to set these aside, and we're going to move on to the lining. As I said earlier, this step is optional if you want your lining to be water resistant. So if you don't want it to be water resistant, skip this step. But if you do, follow along. So we're just gonna peel this paper all the way off, and then we're gonna stick sticky side down onto the top of the fabric. Whenever you go to iron it, you have to put this paper on top. And this protects the vinyl, and so it does not melt. And so make sure that you always use this protective paper on top whenever you are ironing, or else you're going to melt. To make things a little bit easier, I'm just kind of working on this first piece, and I'm just using both of the backings, both of the protective backings on this one, and so it covers the whole thing. But I just have my iron on super hot, and I am just slowly going through and pressing it. You'll probably have to go over things a couple of times, but you're just going to keep doing this until the vinyl is glued on. And in no time, it is done. So now you just take off this, ooh, it's hard with one hand. You take off this protective paper, and you can see that the vinyl is attached. Super, super easy. So now we just got to repeat on the other side. The vinyl is all ironed on now. You can see that there's kind of like a little bit of like a matte sheen to it. And so this is done. So I'm going to set this aside. But I wanted to show you guys what I mean whenever I say that this is water resistant. So I just have like a spray bottle here with some water, and I'm just going to spray some water on top. Do you see how it's beating up? Water is not absorbing into the fabric, and it is so nice. So what this means is, and I've actually done a test on this, so you can put like wet bathing suits, you can put some wet diapers. It makes it so you can easily wipe and clean your bag. So it just makes it, and so if there's anything wet in there, you can store it in here and it's not going to leak through. It's pretty cool. The next step is to quilt the top and the batting together. So the batting is already ironed on. And so we are just going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to quilt on it. On our instructions, we have a few ideas of how you can quilt it. I'm gonna go more with this one today, just kind of do a bunch of straight lines. So I'm gonna get started with that. So here is some of the quilting that I have done, and I just want to kind of show you what I'm doing. So I'm using the edge of my sewing foot, and that is what I'm using as a guide. So I started on this side and I just lined up the fabric on this edge and it's sewed down here, and then you just repeat it. And then something else that is helpful is I kind of chain this together, and so that way I only have to pass through all the fabric once. Does that make sense? I'll show you what I mean. So you can see that I am just using my foot as a guide along here to sew, and then so here's the bottom piece. I am just going to keep sewing right on down. And it just makes everything go way, way quicker. So I would try that tip for sure. Just finished quilting. Look how good that looks. So now I just need to go through and I'm going to snip all of these threads right in here so we can separate our two pieces. And now we get to the fun part, which is attaching the zipper. So now is the fun part of attaching the zipper. And I know this is the part that most of you guys are the most intimidated about, but don't be. I am here to show you how easy it really is. So how we are going to start is we are going to take one of our sides of the top and we're going to lie it face, so pretty side up. So right side up. We're going to take our zipper. So you can see the zipper right here. Here's the zipper pull. The zipper pull is going to face down. Okay, and we're just gonna line that right up with the edge of the top. Now we're gonna take our lining, okay, you can see the lining and it has the vinyl attached to it. We're gonna turn this right side down and we're gonna line it up right here. Okay, so now that all of these sides are lined up, some people glue based, some people use just normal quilting pins. I like these Wonder Clips. And so now this is where you go through, just make sure. I'm now at my sewing machine. I switched out my foot for a zipper foot, and this is crucial because this is what's going to allow you to get nice and close to the zipper line. So a zipper foot is standard on all sewing machines, so you'll just might have to dig around a little bit to find this foot, but you should have it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the zipper foot and we are going to sew along the zipper. Now the edge of this foot lines up perfectly right here. I can feel the zipper where the metal feet are. And so I am just taking the zipper and I am just going along. And as I go along, I am just taking my clips out. Now I can feel, I'm going to backstitch right here and cut this thread because I am hitting the zipper, or I'm getting close to the zipper. And so I'm just going to move this zipper up, pull it up, so that way the zipper doesn't get in my way. And now I'm just gonna go through. So we just finished sewing on that one side of the zipper. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna open this up. We're gonna tuck this lining underneath. And so these two are layered together. And then this side of the zipper is still open. So we're gonna repeat this process with the other pieces. And so we're going to take, here's the top, right side up. We're going to take the zipper and we're going to face it, zipper, pull side down. And then we're going to take the lining and we're going to put it lining side down. And then we're just going to line up, do the same thing. We're going to line up everything. And then we're just going to take these pins every couple of inches and then just pin this closed. And then we just go back to the sewing machine and we just repeat the same thing where we're going to stitch right along the. We've got everything clipped and lined up. So now I am just going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just following the zipper. I can feel the teeth right and they're hitting the edge of my zipper foot. I am just continuing to sew along. And then I'm about to hit the zipper foot, so I'm just gonna back stitch, trim, or cut my thread, and then I'm going to just move the zipper up while I keep on sewing. Make sure to keep everything nice and lined up. So here is what we finished sewing up. So now we're gonna do the same thing, where we're just going to flip this open. And so here you can see, and I'm actually gonna close the zipper, that way you can see it better. There we go, we have the zipper attached. And so what I'm gonna do now is I am going to just take my, gonna take my iron, and I'm just going to gently iron these down. I just want to make sure that they're flat, because now we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're just going to do a little top stitch on both sides of the zipper right here. And so that's just to help the fabric not get caught in the teeth. I changed the sewing foot back out to just like a normal foot. And so now I'm just gonna, about a 1/4 inch, it doesn't have to be exact. I am just lining my foot up with the edge right here of where the fabric meets like the white conning part of the zipper. And I am just using that as a guide to top stitch. And same thing, we're getting close to this zipper. So I am just going to, let's see, maybe it'll help. There we go. Lift that up. Continue stitching, trim, and then we're just gonna go and repeat on the other side. So we just finished top stitching both sides of the zipper, and now the most important part of this entire thing, we're going to open the zipper about 3/4 of the way. And so this is what's gonna allow us to be able to turn this inside out after we're done sewing the tops and lining together. So to sew the tops and linings together, we're going to take the tops, put them right sides together, and we're gonna take the linings and put them right sides together. And whenever you do this, you can feel the zipper right there. It doesn't quite know which way to go. You're gonna make sure that you put the zipper towards into the lining, okay? And so whenever you go to pin things, the zipper is going to be folded towards the lining. Do you see that? Okay, so now that that is folded in towards the lining, we're going to pin or like clip all of this in place. We're gonna line up the zippers, and we're just gonna make sure everything lines up where it needs to go. And then we're just gonna go around the perimeter of both the tops and the lining, and we are going to clip every few inches to hold these. I have lined up and clipped all around the perimeter, and one of the most important things to remember at this step is to leave a 3 to 4 inch gap at the bottom of the lining. And one way that like helps me to remember not to sew right there and to leave a gap is I use needles instead of pens, or sorry, I use needles instead of the clips, and that helps me to remember not to sew in there. And so this is kind of like my starting and my stopping. And so using about, I use like a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're just gonna go through and we're just gonna sew all the way around the perimeter. So I have back stitched at the beginning, and now I'm just gonna go around, and then once I get to about 1/2 inch to the end, I'm just gonna rotate it and just continue going all the way up. And then the important part right here is that you just want to make sure that the zippers are all lining up with each other. And then you just are going to carefully sew over that. And then I actually like to backstitch just to make it extra secure. And so we're just going to keep going around and removing the clips as we get to them. So I just finished stitching all the way around the perimeter, making sure to leave a gap in the middle of the lining. So now we're just gonna go through and we're going to trim off the corners, making sure to not trim any of the threads, and this just helps to reduce bulk. If you are wanting to box your corners and so your bag can stand up, we are going to be, you can find how to do that on another tutorial, but this is the step in which you will do that. And so go find that now. So now I'm just going to put my hand through the hole in the lining, and this is why we opened the zipper earlier, so that way we can put our hand through. And I am just grabbing the top of the fabric and we are just pulling it through. And then we're eventually going to turn everything right side out. So now that we have all of the corners, or all of it right side out and all of the corners, I like to take a chopstick and just kind of put it in there to help get the corners nice and sharp. So the last thing we have to do is we need to sew the opening that we left in the lining closed. Now, because this is like we have the vinyl on this side, and so we want it to be water resistant, we need to make sure to stitch this down very, very well. So I actually go through and I just do a straight stitch first along the bottom, and then I actually go through next and I do a zigzag stitch to just really help, to really just help make sure that this is as closed as it can be so that it helps it to remain water resistant. Okay, that's all closed up. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but don't worry about it because it's in the lining, you'll never see it. So now all we have to do is turn this to tuck the lining into the top fabric. With the vinyl, it makes it a little bit trickier because it's a little bit more stiff. We just pull out these corners. And look at, our zipper pouch is done. All we gotta do now is put on this tassel, which is, oops, just broke the bag, but no worries. It comes with the keychain on it, so you're just gonna put the keychain right through there, and we are all done. The very last thing I do just to help it look nice and beautiful is I just give it a quick pressing just to help everything lie nice and flat and just look super crisp. Oh, does not get any better than this. And now we're officially all done. And here is the beautiful lining in here. So you get, every time you open it up, you just get a lovely reminder about this beautiful fabric. So awesome.